Hey, this is Mike McAdam from GenX Guitar. Today, I am going to try to explain the Kiss phenomenon. Let's see if I can actually do it. I'll do my best. Okay, so recently I was hanging out with a friend of mine and we were talking about Kiss, and his son was there. His son's about 18 years old, and he just asked the simple, obvious question. If you take a look back, 10,000 foot view of Kiss, why would people find this band interesting? They're basically four guys on stage wearing clown makeup, blowing stuff up. Some of the music, especially the lyrical themes, have not aged pretty well. So to a young person, they have no idea why a lot of Gen X guys are totally obsessed with Kiss. Now, I always say this to people, you had to be there because Kiss had this amazing ability to lure a certain age group of mostly young boys into their cult, so to speak. And you have people in the 70s who are a little older or a little younger, and they just miss that window to where Kiss, if you were a hard rock fan and you're 20 years old in 1975, it was all too silly for you. And if you were too young, you just missed the boat. So the thing I try to tell people who are younger is that Kiss had this amazing ability to where you didn't know what they looked like without their makeup. And that was a well-guarded secret back then, and that was a big area of hype. When you went to a concert in the 70s, it was basically, I heard Rob Zombie say this, you was this kind of closed container where you were in that environment. There were no YouTube videos of these bands. There was, in many ways, like minimal magazine coverage. So, like with a band like Kiss, you go into an arena, you don't know what the stage looks like, you don't know what songs they're going to play, you don't know what you're in for. And there was a lot of excitement around that. As a matter of fact, go check out this video if you haven't seen it. It's amazing. It's Kiss from 1976 in Detroit, Michigan, and it's not the professionally filmed footage. There's a video, and I'll link it if I can find it. It's a home video that someone shot in that arena. And when the lights go down before the band plays, this place goes absolutely apeshit. This is almost 50 years ago, and watching this now, just the energy in that room was amazing. And that's what it was like back then with a lot of these bands. So I think Kiss, you knew you were going to see something spectacular because bands in the mid-70s weren't blowing stuff up and having rockets shoot out of the guitar and drum riser going 15 feet in the air and everything else. Like, no one did that. So that was really a show back then. The big thing I'll make with Kiss is that if the music sucked, they would have been forgotten about a long time ago. I always say this, I'll talk about hair metal bands and stuff on this channel. If you have the average hair metal band songwriting here, Kiss is like here. They really had way better songs than a lot of those bands. And people will bounce back and say, well, Kiss aren't very good musicians. Kiss musically is no better or worse than a ton of other bands from that era. Are they Led Zeppelin? No, but they're not nearly as bad as people make them out to be. I think Ace Frehley is a great guitar stylist, played great stuff for their songs. And Paul Stanley's singing is exceptional. Probably the best of that era. I can't think of another hard rock singer that can hit a lot of those notes with their chest with that kind of power. It's really amazing. So these are some of the things with the Kiss phenomenon that have sustained them and made it go for a period of time. And, people get it or they don't get it. Another thing I'll give Kiss credit for is they've been able to sustain their career forever. A lot of people think careers go like this. No, Kiss has been up and Kiss has been down. I remember dramatically, when they had really fallen off in the early 80s and they played in Worcester, Massachusetts, and there weren't a whole lot of people there. So seeing them kind of climb back in the 80s and kind of navigate, different eras at that point, like where they kind of became a Bon Jovi type band for a little while. And then in the 90s, they hardened their image. They've really been a novelty band since they put the makeup back on. But it's amazing, you have bands and such that will sell a lot of records, but Kiss was really a cultural flashpoint. And when you have that, and you reinvigorate it in the 90s, you have a lot of people that is now totally connected to their childhood. And that's powerful stuff for people. So you see that with a lot of other things. But Kiss really has that. And Kiss has massively preyed upon people as far as getting them to buy things or be interested in their next project. But they've really been able to sustain that. And those are my thoughts on the Kiss epidemic, if you will. And maybe it's brought some understanding to someone that doesn't get it. But I lived it. I totally get it. One of the things I do laugh about is I'll see people now who are in their 50s and 60s that still buy into the Kiss mythology. You know, it's like, guys, you know, Paul Stanley really isn't the star child. He's just a guy, you know. But if you buy into the Kiss hype and Kiss were the biggest band in the world and blah, 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 it's like, you know, sure, their PR people would have you believe that. But they really did have an amazing image, the way they had it all set up in the 70s. So kudos to them for that. And that's my take on it. If you enjoyed this, comment below. I'm sure a lot of people are going to have a lot to say about this. Check out our other videos on GenX Guitar. My name's Mike, and I'll see you in the next video.
Paul Stanley's voice is bananas.
Yeah.
And it's really really good voice, that guy.
And that's probably the biggest crime of Kiss, in that he's way underrated, not only as a singer, but as a songwriter. Like, Paul is an excellent songwriter. And you really hear him, you know, talking about how he honed that craft, because he came up through a lot of the Motown songs and the Beatles. Like, he really kind of had that lineage in his songwriting, which I think a lot of people overlook.
I mean, in just the volume of material that they've done over the years, were they doing an album every 6 months or something like that?
For a period of time. And I would say, especially in the 70s, they put out a lot of great stuff. Almost impossibly great for how little time they had to develop it. I think, you know, Kiss had a period of time where even if the songs were okay, they were kind of firing on all cylinders, so it worked. You know, sometimes later on, it's a weird thing. Like the Beatles had that too, where just they could play anything at that point, and it was great just because it was all working. Someone put out a bunch of Kiss videos that were unauthorized, and one of them is from them playing Houston in 1976, and there's 40 minutes of crowd footage before the show starts. And you want a reminder of how much the world's changed. Wow. Yeah. But this was like an event, you know, this was like a teen event, and
big time.
It was mind-numbing watching it, because no cell phones, none of that stuff. People are just there in the moment. Yeah. And this was before the show, and they're just playing tunes on the PA system, and just the fans are nuts.